Malcontent News is a team of journalists, activists, and researchers with three key missions. A commitment to show an unfiltered view of the before, during, and after of key events, live, as it happens. To defend the First Amendment using our rights of a free press. And to amplify the voices of underrepresented individuals including Black, Indigenous, persons of color, and the LGBTQIA+ community. Our team is committed to seeking equality for all and holding those in power accountable. The easiest way to support Malcontent News is to bookmark our website at malcontentnews.com, like and follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, and in the Google News app. To provide financial support, you can become a patron, make a one-time donation through Venmo, or link your Twitch account to your Amazon Prime account and use your free subscription to subscribe to Malcontent News. Thank you for supporting independent journalism and for being a malcontent. Good evening, malcontents. I am the malcontent, and I'm actually seeing we have a restream problem. We are not broadcasting on one of our 4 channels. Bear with me here for 1 second. I'm trying to figure out which channel we're not broadcasting on. That's so weird. Different restream screen says that I'm on all 4 channels. Okay, now it says I'm on all 4. It took its time. Some channel out there is like, well, you can barely hear me. Oh, for the love of God. Red leather, yellow leather. Red leather, yellow leather. Here, is that better? No, you don't have to switch to YouTube. I think the mics just got pushed down the volume. That should be better. Yes? No? No? Yes? Traitor. A skosh. All right, well, here. We'll make it even a little better. Or not. There, that should be even better. I just pumped it up another 3 decibels. Here we can pump it up even a little bit more. I think there's like some maybe driver update that's loading in the background here. Sounds muffled. I don't have any friggin'. Do. Now what? Well, thank you. So it still sounds that way now? Yes? No? No? Yes? Now Rex is giving me a thumbs up. Now I got a shrug. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You know the rest. Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. All right. So I'm just going to assume maybe one of the channels out there, we're having a problem with one of the channels. Other people are saying, you sound good. Now people are saying it's better now. Okay. I don't know. Sounds clear. I'm going to assume maybe one of the sources you're listening to. Well, actually, everybody here is saying it sounds good. So I don't know. Now it sounds good. Yay. Let's get started. Today is Monday, August 2nd, 2021. Couple of things. First thing I want to start with, if you are in the sound of my voice and you live Washington State, Tomorrow is primary day. Tomorrow is the day to get your ballots in. If you haven't done your ballots, do your ballots, get your vote in, do your civic duty. Local elections are the most important elections you can be involved in because as you go further up the chain, the less they care about us. So just talk really loud. I am talking loud. I have like the gain pushed up to ridiculous levels. So it's really important. Get out there and vote. That's one of the first things here I want to start with. We have an interview tonight with Crystal Marks. We're going to go ahead and we'll show that at the end. Crystal Marks is the deputy mayor in Burien, Washington, and she goes by she, her pronouns, and she is running for Congress on Democratic ticket in the 9th Congressional District. She's running against Adam Smith. Adam Smith has been in that chair for 24 years, also as a Democrat. The view being that Adam Smith, there is nothing kind of like, oh my God, cringy, but Adam isn't really kind of serving his district anymore. He's kind of along for the ride at this point. So we will have that interview. We're going to talk about COVID. We're going to talk about the Dixie fire and some of the coverage that we did on that. So we are going to dive in, I think, first with the Dixie fire as the lead story. So Friday, bit of Saturday, covering the Dixie fire. Dixie fire is located outside of Paradise. This is the fire that is burning maybe 2 hours north of Sacramento, maybe an hour outside of Redding, close to the California-Nevada border. Fire has burned over 250,000 acres. It has been incredibly intense. The fire was incredibly intense. I spent a fair amount of time in the remains of the town or hamlet village of Indian Falls and a little tongue of Crescent Mills. A fair amount of Crescent Mill, basically US 89. If it was west of 89, the fire was there. If it was east of 89, there were some areas where there were some spot fires, but not widespread fire. For Crescent Mills, there is a small little tongue of it that sticks out onto the western side of 89, and that was some of the most intense fire damage that I saw. In Indian Falls, all of Indian Falls, it's a very, very small community, maybe 50, 60 buildings, including outbuildings tops. Very, very small community, all of it on the west side of 89. And CAL FIRE released their map of property damage. So I was actually in there before CAL FIRE had done their damage assessment in that area. And it was clear to me that they hadn't gone through because I didn't see anything to indicate that they had searched through any of the properties. Normally you would see spray paint markings somewhere around there to show that they had done a search. And there was no indication when I was there that anybody had gone through and done that yet. So I would presume that CAL FIRE probably followed through the day after I was there. About 70% of the town is completely destroyed. And anything counts. I see that about Still. So there we go. We have our first vote. Still's a great song. We'll get to that towards the end. So with that, I have some video. There was no streaming out there, in part because power lines were down, and we have some still pictures that I'm going to go through also. So with that, let me roll this video clip. For those of you who are like, the volume or what at the start of it, there's really there's nothing to hear with this, and that's actually part of the point of the video is how quiet it was. Let me roll this clip. It's a short clip. Yeah, so that's almost all in Indian Falls. There's a little bit from outside of Twain. As far as I could tell, it's Twain. It's this little tongue of Crescent Mills and then Indian Falls. And so some of that is somewhere between Twain and Crescent Mills, and most of it in Indian Falls. And with that, let me go ahead and I'm looking for, see, I don't have my buttons. Here, when I'm here doing the informal thing, I don't have the buttons. I also just realized I have a client, an award that I helped a client win sitting back there. It's like, oh, let me pull that down. Oh, there we go. There it is. Took me a little while to find it. All right. So these are some still pictures that we took. Deep Suck from Love Story. Dora, that's a softball. These are some pictures that I took, still pictures that were included in our story. So this is a pretty amazing. You'll see some other pictures here of vehicles here that were on the same road. So this Triumph, also the other thing is the coloration that you're seeing in this picture, the color, where everything is kind of sepia tone. And yeah, this is not Photoshop mojo. This is what everything looked like because there was so much smoke in the air. So when you look at this, you look at this Triumph TR7, what happened here is this phone pole here collapsed. Now, the pole had been cut at some point with a chainsaw and pushed aside, but this transformer, this is where this transformer lands. Courtney, we missed you too. This is where this transformer land, just, mere inches from this Triumph TR7, which if you take a look at the front fender has just the tiniest little sign of some fire damage. All of that black on the ground is the transformer oil that is leaked out everywhere and caught on fire. In the background, if you're into cars, that's a B-body Buick Roadmaster. It's the whale body Buick Roadmaster. I couldn't tell you if it's an LT1 version or not because it was so burned. Incredibly, this Triumph TR7 survived the fire. Can't say anything about most of the other vehicles that are on the other side of the road. In this picture here, there's right at the very, very foreground, which you can barely see. You can also see where the power lines had come down. That's a Corvette. The convertible that's completely destroyed there, that is a Corvette. No idea what was on the trailer. I can't remember what this wagon was. In front of that wagon, there's a Mitsubishi 3000 GT. Then in front of that, further up that you can't see in the picture, there is a Chevy Blazer. All of these were, 80s or early 90s cars. Somebody had one heck of a nice Blaze collection. They were all completely wiped out. And a reminder, for auto glass to melt, you need to have temperatures between 1400 and 1600 degrees. For aluminum to melt, you've got some aluminum here right next to this Corvette shell. You need 1225 degrees. So this Corvette convertible was a roller. There was no engine in it, so at least it was a roller. Someone's house, y'all. I mean, there's nothing else to say. I think the picture speaks for itself. Total loss. This is that same house from a different angle, and you can tell where the kitchen was because you have the stove sitting there. And as you can see, that is about all that has survived at this house. Someone was definitely a car collector back there. There were a lot more cars in their collection. Every single one except for that Triumph TR7 was lost. I'm under the impression that they probably moved a lot of the cars to the roadside in the hope that they wouldn't burn. This is another view of that same house. That is just a complete and total loss. This here is another house that they are unbelievably lucky. They were one pane of glass away from probably losing their home. What's happened here is the outer plastic trim is melted from the heat. And what you might be able to see, particularly in the center picture and on the picture on the right, you don't see it as much on the picture to the left. The outer pane on the double pane glass has broken. The inner pane did not break. Had the inner pane also broken from the heat, then the embers would have been able to get into this house, and this house probably would have been a total loss. You can also see, if you look at the top of the picture, you could see some sign of some smoke damage that was up there, but this house just barely survived. This was a 1995 to 1997 Ford Thunderbird. And this vehicle in the background was a Swedish brick. If you don't know what a Swedish brick is, that would be a Volvo. There's your remnants of the Swedish brick. This here is a cast iron bathtub that did not burn in the fire. Here's the other thing when you look at this. When you see this white ash, you see all this white ash around here on the ground, on the trees, these trees in the background, that means the fire there was burning around 2,000 degrees. Just unbelievably hot. The house is in the background. So they have, this right here is a house. I don't know if this is this person's house because there's a bathtub here. So what I don't know, because it is so thoroughly destroyed, because this appeared to be a garage. So I don't know if this bathtub was just in the garage or if everything here is so destroyed and this was like a guest house or a cottage that happened to have a garage attached to it. Same picture, a little close up in. And again, you could really see this, white burned to ash on here. This is a first generation, I'm into my cars, but it's not just car pictures. This is a first generation Ford Taurus, sadly. Here is another house. So this property was a series of 3 small buildings, one next to each other. The building that was to this one's north was unscathed. This building, it got so hot that the front door started to melt. So this is the front door of the house that is starting to melt from the heat. And the building that was to its south was completely destroyed. Absolute ash. And so no idea what the damage was on the inside. Yeah, exactly. It totally looks, and I don't know what your color is seeing in the screen. It was brown. Everything was like these brown and orange hues. Here's a house that's burned. I am going to speculate that this American flag did not survive the fire. I'm going to speculate that somebody put this American flag up after the fire. One of the reasons I don't think so is just the white is too white. But it was a real stunning picture to see this American flag flying out here in what is like this apocalyptic setting. Here, power lines are burned, trees are burned. This was one of the only surviving homes that you see here in the background. This right here, burned and damaged. The tree has some fire damage on it. This was the remnants of somebody's garden in their yard. Here, this is a colander, and honestly, it looks like a heavy cast iron colander, and it had some pots inside of it. And this is essentially on the ground in the remnants of someone's kitchen. So again, you're kind of looking at this and going, what kitchen? And like, exactly. And the reason I could tell this is a kitchen is that there were some shattered pieces of plates and some crockery that were left behind. And again, the only thing that appears to have truly kind of survived is what looks like this very, very heavy, almost cast iron made colander. This right here, I believe, I think this was a Jeepish thing. And so the engine itself has literally melted. That's what this aluminum right here is riveting away. That's all under the vehicle. That's from the engine. There's literally nothing in the engine bay. There's just some twisted metal in this vehicle. And you can see where the rim is partially melted on the front and completely melted on the back. There is no glass to speak of. So, yeah, exactly. That's what I kind of think. I kind of think this was a Jeep Compass. It's really hard to tell, but it kind of looks like a Jeep Compass to me. Again, this is over 1,600 degrees to get this kind of a thing. When the glass is gone, that's what you're looking at. Somebody's house. Somebody's house. Rex, really was amazing to see it in person. Just stunning. This is a kitchen pot that is sitting on the remnants of a kitchen stove. And of course, everything here has completely burned. And I don't know if this pot just lived on top of the stove, or is this how quick that they had to evacuate? Very ironic is the horseshoe that you might see in the foreground. I guess it spilled out all of its luck on the pot. Everything else here just completely destroyed. Remnants of a chimney. You can see the remnants of the wood stove that was attached to it. Part of the stovepipe, the rest of the stovepipe melted. What's really amazing, though, is you look at this house that is a total loss. I know things are really orange, an orange and brown tone, but if you're kind of looking and going, that kind of looks a little greenish in the back. Yes, it is. Anything that was on that side of the street, on the very northern edge of Indian Falls, survived. Basically, everything from the most northern street south burned, with a couple of exceptions. You might see in the background, right along here, that is a fire hose. There were fire hoses laying everywhere. And it's very, very clear that the fire departments had essentially, they dropped hoses and ran for their lives. Another home, with part of the chimney remaining, and probably where all these cans and all are in the foreground was probably the kitchen. Same picture, a little more wide-angle view. This is how thick the smoke was. So this was this was kind of to the southern edge of Crescent Mills, and this is, you thought we were smoky last year. This was the one area, because I brought my full respirator with me and I had updated cartridges. And the air was really chewy here. I was a little kind of when I was outside, and I was like, I'm real close to putting on the respirator. It crossed my mind, but I wasn't in this area long. I got out of this valley, and it was a lot better. But that's how thick the smoke was. This here is not a fire hose. This is a hose that was on the ground. You can see that it's got some fire damage. And there were actually two of them, and this hose was really striking to me because it was very clear that the property owners were trying to protect their property with this hose, and they weren't successful. There are a lot of stories that you could see where people had to just cut and run. This is that property with the hose, where that hose is on the ground. So this is all that's left. The metal sheeting that you're seeing, that would be the roofs. A lot of metal roofs out there because there's a lot of pine needles and it snows in the wintertime. So everyone had a bunch of metal roofs. So this wasn't some, tin shack. That's all the metal roofing that you're seeing. That's all twisted in there. That's it from a more distant thing. And right here is where I'm circling, is where that hose is. And again, you can see this white ash. This is an area like up this hill, white, where you see this white ash, super hot. It's burning super, super hot. And what's amazing is, here's this green grass. Right outside of this frame, there was a four-wheel ATV, completely unscathed. There's another building behind me, also burned. This here was on a dirt road that I was driving on. Everything is burned, has this apocalyptic thing. This massive tree was down. Somebody had cut through and cut a section off of it with the chainsaw. I would presume that firefighters did it, probably moving up to look for hot spots. And there were a ton of hot spots. On the subject of hot spots, there you go. There's a hot spot. Tons of underground fires. I did not do a lot of moving around in the forested areas because it's really dangerous. A lot of underground fires. So what happens when you get fires like this, the fires burn down into the stumps and then they start burning through the roots underground. And that's what this smoke is coming here. So like you see maybe this stump that's just to the right of the smoke. This area here that's going to burn, if these roots are intertwined, it'll start moving down there, and it'll start burning this stump from underground. And so these are potential hot spots that if they get like a lot of wind or stuff, it could really flare up again and start burning this area a second time. You know, pretty telling sign here. The tree sap has come down, completely burned on one side, survived on the other. This tree, everything around in this area is completely burned. Here you can really see where these underground fires are. So you can see where the ground is all kind of churned up and there's holes and, you know, you've got this smoke burning. And the danger is if you go walking through these areas, you can the ground could collapse under you. And all of a sudden you're knee deep in 2,000 degrees. Yeah, Ty, these root fires are killers, literally, exactly. Which is why I did not do a whole lot of traipsing through the woods. And I also was very methodical on anywhere where I stepped. I would literally take a couple of steps and then kind of maybe put my hand on the ground and feel around, take a couple of more steps, feeling for heat coming out of the ground. Super dangerous area. Spot fires still, or you know, not spot fires, but potential spot fires everywhere. You know, here's another one where this tree stump is just burning through. Man, this was just, you know, apocalyptic. This is what it looked like. Rex, wife and I, Dr. and Mrs. Malcontent and I had the exact same view. Totally. We were like, wow, this is where religions get hell from. And I'm going to talk a little bit more on something that added to the hellish experience there, because there was something more to it that pictures are not capturing, the video clip isn't capturing here. But in this picture, what you're seeing here, as I said, this is what it looked like. You know, right? So you could see the sun, everything is burned on this hillside, orange sky, welcome to hell. This is a really interesting picture. This red, and I know some people know about wildfire firefighting, and so they know what that red is. This is from an aerial drop. So aerial fire suppression drop came through. The fire suppression fluid is dyed, and that's what all this red is. And you can see there's some red on the bridge, and these trees are as red as you can get. And this whole area here. So what it appeared is that they dumped along this railroad bridge here for, I'm not sure why, because railroad bridge is all metal and stuff. And I couldn't get up there to check the ties. It is active railroad tracks, but it does look like they dumped along the railroad tracks. I will also say this, this stuff here was right on Highway 89, or this might be 70. This might be Highway 70. And I'm really under the impression that this was a defensive line, this road, and they didn't want the fire to jump this road. So this may be why. Here's another spot, same thing. You can see where the red is dropped here. In this case, this is the start of the drop right about here, and it actually follows this road that turns off in the background. Here's another, this is by Twain. And here is another area where fire is burning underground. Yes, that's Beverly Hills. Beverly Hills Fire Department is there. They were setting up in a defensive line there. So firefighters here were talking about what they were going to do. Battalion chief talked to me, actually gave me like a little mini briefing. In hindsight, I actually think he was kind of fishing for an interview, and I think I missed an opportunity because he started like giving me this whole formal thing, and I was just like, "Thank you." You know, like, and then I thought about it like that night. It was like, I really think he was fishing for an interview. Damn it. St. Helena is also in California, but not in this immediate area. What the battalion chief volunteered without me asking, they were filling up this pumper truck and were moving. The Beverly Hills truck here was kind of being set up in a defensive position in anticipation of the weather turning, and the weather did turn on Sunday for the worse. So that's what was going on here. And again, here we have the Beverly Hills. And then here you've got Culver City, also kind of down in the LA area. That was the battalion chief and the individual that I was talking to. This here, again, another picture to just illustrate how dense the smoke was, right? This bridge just looks like it goes into the nothing. Everything is brown and orange. And again, this isn't Photoshop. This is it. This is how it looked. Which is why I actually stopped here, because when I turned to go across this bridge, yeah, exactly, Rex. When I turned to go across this bridge, it was like driving into nothing. And so that's why I turned around and took this picture on the way back. You might be able to see just a little bit of the other, like the edge of the top of the ravine, just kind of like right along there, like right there, just a little bit of it. Really, really stunning. Anyway, really, really bad situation there. There was the other thing is, let me go back actually to this. Let me go back to this. And we will go back to we'll go back to this picture as I talk about this. Rex had said earlier about this, going, hey, I can see where people got, the view of what hell is like. The other thing, there's no sound. The only thing you hear, like, again, you heard that video. So, like, you hear a vehicle go by. So what you're hearing is fire trucks, people working the fire going by, because this is all in the evacuation area. So I had to show my press credentials. California police let me through. Actually, they were, the police were really cool. Check my credentials, and like within about 30 seconds, I was on my way in both cases. So there's no sound, number one. Other than you can hear some wind, you can hear snags cracking in the woods, and flies. Lots of flies, biting black flies. And so I actually did a Google search. Why are there flies after a forest fire? And it turns out there's something called smoke flies. You can go look this up. They're called smoke flies. They are attracted to forest fires. Their breeding cycle requires freshly burnt wood. So the smell of a forest fire for them is like wild orgy party time going on here. And they out getting a freak on. So you have the smell of burnt everything, no sound, there's no animals, there's nothing green, there is nothing that you can use. Ground is smoldering and still burning in places. Everything is destroyed, and black biting flies. So there you go. You're right, and not a drop of potable water anywhere. Welcome to hell. Uh, so, yeah, there you go. So thank you, Malcontents, for helping making that trip happen. We have a story up on our website, malcontentnews.com, or Modor. Yes, exactly. Uh, I'm not going to make this political, as tempting as I am, but yes, Mordor is probably even a better analogy. I forgot what I was going to say here. I totally forgot what I was going to say here. Uh, I was saying, thank you for helping, make this happen up on our website, malcontentnews.com. There is that photo gallery is up on malcontentnews.com. There's also another story up there about the ongoing water crisis that is going on in the West Coast. And that story covers the water situation from Arizona all the way up to Washington, where there is a variety of water shortages going on as historic drought continues to grip the nation. Joy, great question. Dixie Fire is less than an hour from Paradise. It is uncomfortably close. The outer edges of it are uncomfortably close to where Paradise was. The exit that you take to drive into the area from the Dixie Fire, it is literally the same exit for Paradise. The road splits. You go this way to go to where in the direction of Deadwood, which brings you to the edge, ironically named Deadwood, brings you to the edge of the Dixie Fire. And at that time, the evacuation area, they've moved the borders as of yesterday. And if you go in this direction, then you're actually going towards Paradise. And Paradise is closer than Deadwood. So maybe 30 miles? Maybe? I'm kind of spitballing it on the map of my head. Oh, Ty, that is a really, really cool factoid about FOSCheck. Another thing that some people may find interesting is that Rex, we could talk about the snow in Brazil. It actually is in the equatorial regions where it snowed in Brazil. It actually snows there. It's kind of like Seattle in the wintertime. They don't get snow there every year. They might get small amounts of snow, and every now and then they get some big snows. Because when I saw that, I was like, it's snowing in Brazil, and I did some research on it, and it's not as bad as it seems in Brazil. So I can talk about that just in time for the description of hell. Welcome in, Pam. But yes, it did snow in Brazil, but that area actually has gotten much bigger snows historically. And yes, Shelley, the water situation is definitely very, very concerning. I look at people, Phoenix, one of the fastest growing cities in the country, and I just I don't get it. Glen Canyon Dam is on the brink of reaching a level where the dam will no longer be able to produce electricity, which impacts 400,000 users. If the water gets to the predicted low level, Glen Canyon Dam is going to reach dead pool. Lake Shasta's got a long way to go to dead pool. Oroville Dam, because they use kind of a pump situation, it has a way to go because the power plant there is underground. It has a way to go to reach dead pool. Oroville's really fascinating, right? Because this is the area where there was so much water that they were afraid this dam was going to collapse because the water got to 101% and the spillway got overtopped, and they had all of this damage to the spillway. Now that water level is down to 32%. Other thing I want to talk about in the water situation, there is lots of misinformation out there on people, because there's people that are going, in the case of Oroville, that water's going out to the Pacific Ocean. And no, it's not. It's like, no, it's not. That water is feeding into the Sacramento River, and the water that comes out of Oroville. First of all, the water that goes to the power plant, about 20% of that water is recovered by the power plant and pumped back up into the lake, Oroville. That's number one. The second thing is the water that isn't recovered then goes to another reservoir downstream there into the Feather River. That then feeds into the Sacramento, which then goes into the San Joaquin Valley to keep farmers continuing to farm. The other thing is if they cut that water off, not only do you lose the electricity out of Oroville Dam, but the salinity level, which is already going up in the Sacramento River, will go up, which will have a negative impact on the farmers in the San Joaquin Valley because you can't water plants with salt water. Just stop. Like the whole partisan blinders that go on with this stuff. The other thing is that the Sacramento River has gotten so hot that the salmon eggs and the salmon fry, about 90% were wiped out this year. It is just an absolute disaster. Who needs salmon? I don't know, people who eat. Tribal agreements that are in place for people who eat. State animal, bear, they kind of live on salmon. I'm just saying. The other one that cracks me up is there was somebody like with Lake Powell, right? Oh, that water's just going out the water in California. Lake Powell is fed by the Colorado River. The Colorado River empties out in Mexico. It doesn't go. Colorado River barely passes into California. Barely. It passes into California on its way to Mexico. And there are international agreements that Mexico gets water from the Colorado River. Because before it was all dammed up, guess who got most of that water? Oh, that's right. Mexico got most of that water before it was dammed up, not the United States. So there's international agreements that have been established in place that Mexico gets some of the water from the Colorado River. America first! Again, before it was all dammed up, who got the water? Oh, by the way, who used to own Arizona once upon a time? I know, that's a whole different thing. Go back home, brown people. They are home. It is their home. Like all that area was taken by military force. Texas used to be its own country. Friggin' idiots. Yeah. Like seriously. The other thing is, okay, you don't want any water going over the dam at Lake Powell? Well, that's great. We could turn off electricity to 400,000 houses then. Because the water has to keep flowing to run the power plant there. And let's see, what is it? Oh, it's August in Arizona. Huh. Do you think they're using a lot of air conditioning right now in Arizona in August? You think they kind of need that electricity coming out of Glen Canyon Dam? You think? Maybe, possibly. You think there might be some negative impacts? These are the same people who were making fun of people, by the way, in Seattle when it was 108 degrees here. Hey, you're just complaining. It's like, yeah, we'll pull the plug on Glen Canyon Dam, take away your air conditioning for a couple of days and see how much, oh my God, Shell, the friggin' Utah hammocks. Oh my God. Wow, Rex Young dropping in the Chinatown movie reference. Great movie. It really is, cinematically is a great movie. Dan, 100% correct. What Mexico gets is kind of they're kind of screwed in the deal, and right, and the trickle is going down more and more and more. I am loving some of your answers here on the question of the day, by the way. Kurt, Kurt, that's badass. Are you like in the mountains of Tucson? Right? If you're up high, because right, there's some really up high places and it doesn't get as hot there. I know if you get up to the high parks there in the national park that's there in Tucson, they see certainly more snow at the higher elevation than they do at the lower elevations. But yes, the water that Mexico gets is pretty crappy. and there's a bunch of other states that yank water out of it. Dan, the only thing I'm saying is that this trope of the water just goes to California and out to the ocean is like it's so not true. Yeah, Rex, 20% of the water. It does sound like it's pretty impressive engineering. I was reading up on it. I don't know what the engineering is behind that. And actually 20%, now I'm doing the math in my head, is probably conservative. It's actually closer to 30% of the water. So if the power plant is running full tilt, I believe it is 16,000 cubic foot per second that is going through the power plant. And they can recover over 5,000 cubic feet of that water. They actually pull some of the power from the power plant to run pumps, and those pumps pump it back up into the lake. It's actually pretty cool, when you think about that. Snowflake, Arizona, where the fire in the sky thing happened. The fire in the sky thing, that movie. Wow. Okay, let's continue to move on. We've talked about water and stuff longer than I want to talk to. The next thing I want to talk to is about COVID. Oh my God, COVID. We're so screwed. I know. We actually have we actually have a contract with the Department of Health, and I know I shouldn't be saying things like we're so screwed. I'm sorry, state of Washington. Please get vaccinated, please. I know here in King County we're over 80% vaccinated now, and I've talked about this at length. And I begged and I appealed when we did our last in studio. Please, just please. United States, on the 7-day moving average, we're approaching 70,000 new cases a day. On Friday, there was a couple of news stories. 194,000 new cases on Friday. Don't read into that, because there are a number of states like Florida that are now reporting data weekly, and tons of accusations in Florida from citizens, medical community, community officials, at the county and town level, that the state's cooking the books. It's way worse than what the state is saying. There's a ton of people that are saying that DeSantis and his cabinet are cooking and the government there are cooking the books in Florida. 1/3 of COVID cases now in all of the United States are in Florida and Texas. 33% coming from those two states. There's just not a lot of good news. We had talked about, R0 between, reaching 8. Now it's something that came late last week, right? R0 may be as high as 10, up there with chicken pox. It's really contagious. We have the super spreader event out of Barnstable County in Massachusetts. 74% of the people that got COVID were vaccinated. 5 of the 6 people hospitalized, vaccinated. Only 1 of those people hospitalized with serious comorbidities. Today to date, 94% of the people landing in hospitals are unvaccinated. Over 99% of the people who are dying are unvaccinated. But here's the other thing that's going on. The children's hospitals in the states with low vaccination rates, Arkansas, Louisiana, Florida, Missouri, the children's hospitals are filling up or have filled up. And nobody set up the ICU capacity for these facilities because it was like, oh, this is an old person disease. And people like me have been saying it's not just an old person disease. And it's starting to ravage younger generations. The number 1 people in hospital right now are millennials. Millennials. Like, why? Why do you keep screwing things up for the rest of us? Why? I know. I'm not going to bag on the millennials. I stopped bagging on the millennials. We have a much bigger millennial audience. But damn it, you're screwing things up. You're not bulletproof. It isn't an old person disease. We've been saying that all along. It's an old person. Yeah, all the old people got vaccinated. They didn't screw around. If I get it, yeah, you get it, you get it. Long haul COVID, about 20% of cases now. People would have some kind of symptoms going on 6 weeks or longer. And everything is indicating, like right now, in Washington State, we are already above where we were in the first phase. Remember, we're technically in phase 5 because we had our own little private party phase 1 here in Washington State. It was like Washington and New York and New Jersey. We had our own little private kind of phase 1, and then it blew up everywhere else. We were on the way down. The rest of the country then had that. We had a little bump in a phase. So we're technically in phase 5 here in Washington because we had our thing back in February and March right here in Kirkland. Is where it all started. And, here we go again. We are already worse in Washington State than we were in phase 1 and phase 2. ICU capacity in Washington State is holding around 85%. However, the amount of people in ICU more than doubled when we talked about this number last week with COVID. We're now at 11%. If you were over 10%, if we go back to the remember Healthy Washington opening plan that we had, back in March? Under Healthy Washington opening plan, we should be locking counties down again. We should be moving back either into phase 2 or phase 3 in multiple counties, including King County. There is no appetite. Even Fauci has said it. There is no appetite to move any of this stuff back. And we are truly in a pandemic of the unvaccinated. And there are people just digging in their heels with stupidity. And yes, I was going to talk about Lollapalooza, because here's the thing that's very concerning about Lollapalooza. The dominant strain in Illinois is not Delta. The dominant strain is Gamma. And Gamma, the data, we have a story up on malcontentnews.com. It's about 24 days. The headline is something like 24 days and we're back to masks. It's something on the headline. There's information there about Gamma. There is links to a CDC study. Gamma is showing to be even more capable of moving through the vaccine than Delta. What we don't know about Gamma is it as transmissible or more transmissible than Delta? The thing that will save us from Gamma is if Gamma has an R0 below 10, then Delta is going to stomp it out because Delta is more transmissible. If Gamma has an R0 that is, 10-ish, then Lollapalooza may be going, well, good news, we're getting rid of Delta. Now we're getting Gamma. By the way, Gamma actually in up to maybe 50% of the cases is blasting through the vaccine. And the CDC report on Gamma, again, is linked to our site. You're scaring people. Go read the friggin' paper yourself. I'm giving you information, giving you facts. Gamma is dominant strain in a couple of countries in South America, I believe. Oh, Pam, again, if you go up on malcontentnews.com, you're going to have to go. It's still on the homepage. It's a little further down now, but it's something like, well, here, I'll just look it up. Let me just look it up. I'll just look it up. Or not. There we go. Wakey, wakey. Okay, we'll go like this. We'll go like this. And I'll go like... We'll go like that. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Right here. This story right here. 24 days, King County's asking to mask up again. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Growing concern over Delta, Lambda, and Gamma variants. If you go down here in Illinois, Gamma is the dominant variant. Here you go. Illinois has seen 6 times more Gamma variant cases than Delta so far. That was as of July 21. So not only is Lollapalooza, and here's the CDC study. Right here. Breakthrough infections of SARS-CoV-2, Gamma variant, and fully vaccinated gold miners, French Guiana, 2021. And you can see there is a ton of doctors and associates that have put their names on this study. There is a ton of references. There's figures. There's tables. And this will be in the EID Journal, Volume 27. It's set for early release. It'll be published in October 2021, meaning in the print document, but it's available now online. Yeah. Caused by gamma variant concerned, 55% of employees at a gold mine in French Guiana, 87% were symptomatic, no severe forms. The attack rate was 60% among fully vaccinated miners and 75% among unvaccinated miners without a history of infection. So 60% if you were unvaccinated, 75% if you were vaccinated. Yay. Please get vaccinated. The thing that I'm just wondering is there is a ton of digital ink being spilt, and there's chatter in the medical community about two things. Number one, Pfizer vaccine will have full FDA approval September or October, which is a month away now, month to 2 months away. There's a ton of chatter about this. And booster shots are probably coming in September and October. Chatter, not fact, chatter, but chatter coming from sources I trust, if that makes any sense to anybody. So, yeah, Rex, what they were finding is that people were getting as sick. It doesn't seem as though Gamma makes you as sick as Delta. Delta's really gnarly. We learned that in India. Delta, right? Delta is crazy transmissible. It's up more in the sinuses, the down in the throat, which really increases the transmissibility of the Delta variant. It chews through vaccines, but what we are seeing in that is that the vaccine is kind of like a flu vaccine. It is protecting you from more serious symptoms of, basically putting your ass in the hospital. But we learned in India before it came here that Delta, it makes you much sicker than the original strain and then the Alpha strain. I'm sure the booster will be free also. I'm going to be wearing, I've gone back to wearing a mask. Ken, the Gamma variant has been in Illinois for months, if you actually do some reading on it. So there aren't a whole lot of people that are like walking from Peru or Brazil across the border. This is almost more certainly people that flew there and then flew back, but whatever, Ken. Yeah, right. They brought it to us. Yeah. Half the country isn't friggin' vaccinated and half the country is refusing to wear a mask. But yeah, it's it's someone from Brazil's fault. It's real easy to blame other people in your world, isn't it? It's real easy. So over it. There are things I would just love to say, but I won't say them because A, I'm too compassionate, and B, we're working with the Department of Health with the state, and they won't be happy if I say it. But oh my God, there's some things I want to say. Also, on the subject of COVID, Lindsey Graham, vaccinated, got COVID. Hey Ken, did he get that from a brown person pen, a scary brown person in South Carolina? Is that how Lindsey Graham got sick? Are we going to blame a scary brown person for that, Ken? Just asking, Ken. Is that how Lindsey Graham got sick? What was, I don't know, was Lindsey Graham like, hey, Matt Gaetz, can you hook me up with somebody, but, legal? Did I just go there? Heard immigrants, you heard. Like, yeah, link, proof. Link, you got to slow it at all sources. Interesting, Ken. Interesting. So, Ken, should Lollapalooza have gone on with 100,000 people packed like rats? Do we need mask mandates again, Ken? You got to slow it at all sources is what you said. So should we have a mask mandate again? Because we have to stop it at all sources, right? So if we have to stop it at all sources, Ken, let me ask you this. Should the state of Washington stop taking COVID patients from Idaho? Because Idaho doesn't have enough hospital capacity, so they're putting them on airplanes and flying them to Seattle. They're bringing their COVID right here to Washington State from Idaho. Those people that refuse to wear masks, refuse to get vaccinated, are having to get put on airplanes and fly their sick asses here to Seattle and also to Portland, Oregon. So should we put a wall up in Idaho? Because they're bringing COVID here, if I follow your logic. And their infection rate is much higher than the state of Washington and Idaho. So should Washington close the border with Idaho, Ken? My non-denominational thoughts and prayers go out to Ken. I'm very serious question, Ken. Right? Idaho Pan, you have a lieutenant governor that is such a COVID denier that when in Idaho, that when the governor left the state on business, the lieutenant governor signed a rescinding of the mask mandate in the state. The governor then came back and was like, "What the hell are you doing?" And she was like, "Just kidding." Ken, Ken, you're not moving the goalposts. No. We're not going to play the sea lioning game here, Ken. I asked the question. Answer the question. I'll answer your question if you answer my question. And you haven't answered either of my questions. Question number one was, well, I heard 9% at the border are COVID positive. Source, please. Multiple people in comments have asked you for links. You haven't provided a link. I think I know why. The second thing is you've been asked a very direct question. Should the state of Washington close the border with Idaho? Because they have a government there that has a lieutenant governor that basically is a COVID denier. And the sickest people in Idaho are getting shipped to Spokane, Seattle, and Portland. And they are using up the hospital resources in those areas, particularly in Spokane. And then Washingtonians in Spokane are now having to go to Seattle because they have no capacity there. Still not answering the question, Ken. Idaho is not smart. Doesn't answer the question. See, you don't want to answer the question. It's very clear. Now you're going to be like, yes, I am. It's very clear you don't want to answer the question because you're not answering it. It's a yes or no. It's real easy. You type, no, the border shouldn't be closed with Idaho. Yes, the border should be closed because we know what the answer is. Since you won't answer the other question, I will find it. Oh, Ken. Here we go, Ken. The case of the Rio Grande Valley sector detention facilities now account for 60% of all detainees confirmed to have COVID-19 and under CBP cares. Fox News reported Tuesday. Fox News, Ken. We going to take Fox News? The numbers of non-citizens encountered by law enforcement in June, 190,000 people, is the highest count in 21 years. Of that, roughly 105,000 people were sent back to Mexico and denied asylum. Border Patrol can down 113,000 adults, 15 other Carolina, 50,000 people, blah, blah, blah. Story continues. So here you go, Ken. Fox News. 190,000 people in June. Customs and Border Protection confirmed that 135 detainees at the Rio Grande Valley Crossing Point tested positive for COVID. Fox News. This is Fox frickin' News. The cases of the Rio Grande Valley sector detention facilities now account for 60% of all 135 is 60% of all detainees. 135 people, Ken. This is Fox News. It's right here on the screen. 135 people. Where do you get don't trust Fox News? How convenient, Ken. How convenient. So then who do you trust? Where's your link to your 9% number? Because, let's see here, Ken. I don't even think we're going to come up with a valid integer here. Let's see. 135 divided by 190,000. See, it's like, it's not even a percentage. It's like 0.0000000. Ken, it's not even 0.06%. It is an integer with so many zeros, the calculator can't do it. It's not 6%. Where is your source? You just went from 9% to 6%. You're losing credibility by the minute here, Ken. And Ken, it's very clear. It has nothing to do with stopping it at all sources. Because you don't want to close the border between Idaho and Washington. You said we need to stop it at all sources. Well, the state of Washington should protect itself, right? And stop it there? Well, he went from 9% to 6%. We have the numbers right here. Look at this dramatic headline. COVID cases among migrants in Rio Grande Valley sector surge 900% as border numbers continue rise. There were 135 COVID-positive migrants in the first 2 weeks of July. A 900% increase of the 190,000 people that crossed. That's just, that's, totally, it's brown people. FEMA says, link, Ken, why can't you provide us a link? FEMA says 6%. Uh-huh. All right, FEMA, 6% COVID border. Says the positivity rate is at 6% in March 16th, Ken. March 16th. You're using old data, Ken. March 16th. Right there. 0316. March 16th. Verifying claim of immigrants having COVID-19 isn't based on actual testing data. The statistic is misleading. It is not based on tested data, but it's based on estimates from a group of border sheriffs. And again, this information is in March of 2021. We're in August. So you have to torture numbers to get to the 6% number, and the 6% number is an old number, and the number is now much lower. Well, but Ken, you're the one talking about the border. Are there not? You're the one like, oh, it came from South America, right? You're the one who started the conversation here. I wasn't aware of the white Anglo-Saxon Protestants going across the southern border. I know they come across the Canadian border. I wasn't aware of this situation on the southern border. Well, I don't know, Ken. It was okay at Lollapalooza, right? Heresy. All right. As Rick and Morty would say, as Rick Sanchez would say, I'm bored. Bored. We're going to move on to the COVID thing. The numbers stink. According to Fox News, cases are up 900%, 135 positives. Boom, boom, boom. But we don't trust Fox News because, of course, we know Fox News is going to show COVID numbers at the border in a favorable light. That's why they wrote the scary headline if people read, cases are up 900%. There's 135. Should we not have cruises? You know, we're talking about, oh, my God, people packed together. So should there not be cruises? Are people all packed together on cruise ships? All right, we're going to move on because it was fun. I haven't had old school like this in a while. And people like the controversy. Yeah, exactly. Shell names it. Canada find. Oh, my God, Kelly's watching us on Twitter. Ilmarin wins the internet. I'm going to go take a shit. Where's the level 9 bathrooms? Where's the level 9 security bathrooms? Is it through this elevator? All right, cool. I need to go take a shit. I know. It's a great episode. All right. Let's move on to Crystal Marks. We're going to move on to the Crystal Marks interview. Crystal Marks is running for Congress for the 9th district. She's looking to unseat Adam Smith, also a Democrat in that district. Adam Smith's been in a district for 24 years. To summarize what her campaign is, feels like there needs to be a change in that district. She even, and you'll hear it in the interview, she was like, I kind of want to start out. You know, there isn't a core fundamental issue with what he's doing. 9th district extends all the way up into Bellevue. It's a gerrymandering. And we end up with these weird congressional shaped districts for this. So the 9th district, interesting, includes South Seattle and Bellevue, and it goes all the way into North Tacoma, right? It's been sliced out into these blue areas when they divided things to protect those, blue seats. And of course, we have it the other way to protect the red seats. And the whole system is just screwed up. And that's not a slam on Crystal Marks. It's just the whole system's screwed. Anyway, Crystal wants to fix... Crystal, I'm sorry. It's not starting off very well with you, am I? Crystal wants to fix the system. See, I just spun that around. So with that, let me go ahead, play her interview. Her interview was almost an hour. So it's been cut down to 12 minutes. So we got a 12-minute clip. And I just realized I don't have the chat client running on the screen for the interview. So I will be able to see your comments privately. They just won't be shared on the screen. So you can go ahead and continue to share your comments on the screen. And with that, let me play her interview.
Crystal Marks is a candidate for the 9th Congressional District, where she will challenge Rep. Adam Smith next year for his seat in the other Washington. She was elected to the Burien City Council, position number 7 in 2018. And you serve as the executive director of Settle Out and Proud, also known as a nonprofit behind Seattle Pride, since 2019. And you became deputy mayor in 2020. You'll be facing off, obviously, with an incumbent who's been in office since 1997. Why did you decide to get into this race?
There was no strong anti-Adam Smith sentiment. I think it's really important to lead with that. We have, in the political world, there are always people that you want to see yanked out of office who are actively harming our communities, but in some cases, not really pushing for advancement or for greater protections or for things that our communities need can be just as big of a harm. And so I saw the current representative, Adam Smith, in the 9th district as kind of that latter category of not pushing for things that our district needs. So as someone who has experienced homelessness as a child, who has been evicted right before I ran for office. I'm my husband's caregiver for his service-connected PTSD in the Army, having a trans kiddo. I mean, there's so many things that I think so many of us within Washington State, especially, but the 9th really are experiencing: housing insecurity, food insecurity, high cost of medical bills, with my son having type 1 diabetes, just being diagnosed with that in October. The cost of that alone is astronomical. We're not seeing the fight that we need and that we deserve to make sure that all of our people are protected and can live a life of dignity and being able to focus on their jobs instead of worrying about housing.
I understand, as a member of the Marion City Council, you have been the target of a few people on the far right. Can you speak to that a little bit and tell me more about how these attacks may not reflect modern values?
Definitely have been a target. Folks are, the most recent big one was people were printing off stickers that, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on this program, but Burien looks like S, and it had my face on it, and it was a not flattering picture. It's like mid-sneeze type of picture, and they're plastering them around the city. And that was just a recent one, but usually they go after anything from my appearance. I'm heavily tattooed as an elder millennial. It's kind of my thing. My weight as a plus size woman and someone who's a fat activist. Having been evicted from housing for, even if it was a no fault eviction where the landlord sold our house and wanted to sell the house and asked us to move. They pick apart every part of my identity and not even the policies as much as it is just how I look and what I've been through. So it's been really difficult. The first couple of years, it was difficult to be able to focus on policy when I'm constantly getting harassing phone calls. We had a severe death threat that actually got the FBI involved and Interpol, believe it or not, because the person lived in Ireland. So, I mean, this whole thing is just like the attacks were kind of out of left field in some ways. And I think it's stemming to the second part of your question, Renee. It stems from a fear of where things are progressing towards. What I represent is a younger community, more progressive values, and a willingness to stop the status quo from continuing and to making sure that we fight for the people that we're charged to represent.
Now, you are also associated or have been in the past with Should She Run, which is an excellent organization that helps women get elected to public office. So I did want to ask you, how does having more diverse representation help create better outcomes?
As a program facilitator for She Should Run, I taught women over a 7-week kind of course, a cohort, 30 to 40 women across the nation in an online setting, the basics of how to run for office, build up leadership skills, how to recognize your lived experience as legitimate experience for running for office. And to answer that question, it's having that diversity of candidates, especially making sure we have women, non-binary folks represented in office, means that we see things that are typically left out when the status quo is maintained, which typically has been older, often retired, white, cisgender men. And when that's the case, you don't have equal representation. You don't know what the struggles are in every aspect of your community. And so things get overlooked and problems get made worse. So by making sure we get more women running, more non-binary folks running, more non-white people running, more queer folks running, you are making sure that everyone in the community is seen and their needs are elevated to a level where something can actually be done to help.
Now, as you know, the 9th Congressional District encompasses diverse interests from multiple communities, stretching from Northeast Tacoma to the East Side and even South Seattle. What makes you uniquely qualified to represent so many varied constituencies?
So experiencing it, definitely seeing the disparity that exists in Bellevue versus SeaTac, but also seeing the sense of community that ties us together. I think there's more. Our collective humanity, our collective struggle is what ties the entire district together. And that is what needs to be focused on. I've got the experience of not only living at the very, very depths of poverty and not knowing where our meals are coming from, if we can keep the lights on, being evicted, being homeless, but also knowing what it's like to have a stable roof over my head. And now being the executive director of a nonprofit, being able to care for my family and pay most of our bills, when it's not a pandemic time. So having had that lived experience is important. And I also serve on regional committees that serve this entire area. I'm on the Board of Health for King County, so I'm responsible for listening to the needs throughout the region. East Side, North End, South Seattle, all the way down through South King County, and looking at the health disparities that present and realizing that we have poor people in East King County too. We've got extremely rich people in South King County. We've got multi-million-dollar mansions in Burien. So it's being able and being willing to see where we're the same and where those disparities are, and to present them in a way that really gets stuff done.
Now, according to a study released by the U.S. Census Bureau in 2019, 8.7% of persons living in the 9th Congressional District live below the poverty line. Whose responsibility is it to address this concern, and what should be done about it?
I think it's every layer of government's responsibility to address this. So from the federal level, we need to be raising the minimum wage. We need to making it have it at a level where it's a livable wage for folks. That isn't necessarily $15 an hour anymore either. It would have been great if we all would have caught up to that, like the city of SeaTac did a few years ago. But now that cost is rising. It's rising a lot higher due to the cost of housing, as well as just to get by. People are spending more than 30% of their income on housing costs. We are severely cost burdened in the 9th Congressional, where we're spending over 50 to 60% of our income on housing costs alone. It is the county or the state level as well, making sure that we're passing progressive revenue reform. So we're doing things like capital gains taxes, things where we're getting money from the most wealthy among us in those unique situations that isn't going to leave them bankrupt, but it's making sure it's a more fair taxation for our community. So we stop overly taxing our lowest income folks. At the county levels, it's making sure that we're funding community projects. We are funding community organizations who are experienced in working on the ground and providing culturally appropriate care and services to people who are at or below the poverty line. It does not matter if there's a program that exists. If a whole entire community doesn't know how to access it because there's a language barrier or they don't trust local government, we have to be funding these community organizations that have those direct ins that are trusted messengers. And at the city level as well, it's knowing really what people are asking for. It's putting out those, it's more than just surveys, it's putting out programs and access points locally and feeding that information back up to the federal level and demanding that our federal delegations help us. So having that full cycle of every layer of government involved is crucial. It's not just one of our problems.
Again, according to that same U.S. Census study, only 53% of people own their own home in the 9th District. How do you propose that the federal government help put families into homes so they too can build some wealth through home ownership?
Well, definitely. I mean, I believe that housing is a human right. So we have, over 230,000 of our renter households in Washington fall under that extremely low income threshold, where 30,000 of the households are considered severely rent burdened. So it's focusing on those folks first. It's making sure we pass a Green New Deal on public housing. It will create thousands of jobs nationally, and I think it's something close to 12,000 public housing units in Washington state alone. So that already is a huge relief on the system. It's making sure that we also don't increase the cost burden. We don't increase homelessness by making sure that we have tenant protections and housing stability ordinances and laws throughout our state, throughout the district. So we stop people from sliding into homelessness. And it's also making sure that we have federal assistance and equity in the rental market so that folks can, while they're renters, build up that equity and that generational wealth without that fear of their housing being ripped from them. So they can build things as a stepping stone and be able to step into home ownership. And then a lot of it falls to reparations as well. Who are the community members that have been the most harmed when we talk about things like marijuana laws? What are reparations looking like there? It's providing those home loans. It's providing those business loans to the Black community that helps them to stabilize, build generational wealth and equity. And also it leads into purchasing homes. It's all connected.
What can be done to help stabilize those renters who are now in a difficult situation?
First and foremost, we have to cancel rent. We have to cancel mortgages, mortgage payments, all that were due during the pandemic, period. We have the ability of the federal government to do so, and we have to do it. Not doing so places greater burden on tenants to come up with, even during the payment plans and the things we've passed here in Washington state, people, if they couldn't afford it during the pandemic and they've been laid off or they don't feel safe going back into their low paying jobs and risking their health and the health of their families, they're not going to be able to pay those payment plans moving forward, and they're going to find themselves evicted. Same thing with landlords. I've got a fantastic landlord. They've been wonderful to work with. They treat us well. But if we weren't able to pay our rent, that is property that they own. That's a mortgage that they're paying on. So we need to be able to cancel that as well, and working with the banks to make sure that we are protecting all of our community members. I think that is the biggest thing that we can do right now coming out of COVID-19 to make sure that we don't have more evictions and more people sliding into homelessness.
I wanted to address police accountability a little bit. I know sort of where you are on this issue, but I wanted to share that with our viewers. Washington obviously passed 12 pieces of legislation that limit police powers and seek to ensure that bad actors within law enforcement are held accountable. Would you take that reform to Washington, D.C. and seek to enact those measures nationwide?
100%. What we're doing now is to prevent lateral hires from folks who have disciplinary records on file is crucial and needed. And more importantly, though, it's long overdue. And it's one thing to do it here in small pockets. What I've learned serving on the Burien City Council is that if you do not work with neighboring cities to pass similar bills, to pass similar ordinances, then it's a one-off, and it does not help a community that tends to shift and move. And we realize none of us stay in our one city. We work in a different city, or we worship in a different city. We go to school in a different city. We travel frequently. It's the same thing when it comes to police reform. If you are expected to live up to one standard in one place and you don't like it as an officer, you can go somewhere else and you can operate in a way that is not safe for communities in other places. That's why we need it at a federal level to have those protections. Additionally, we're looking at, we need to demilitarize the police and divest federal funding from law enforcement and the prison industrial complex. It's enabling the BREATHE Act as well, which will replace police involvement in school settings and behavioral health emergencies.
I really want to thank you for coming on the program. I think our viewers now have a better understanding of your positions while you're running for the 9th Congressional District and your experience and leadership on a variety of different issues. So once again, thank you for appearing on the program.
Thank you for having me. This is wonderful.
And there you go. And that's the interview. Renee's story in Seattle Gay News will be out on Friday the 6th, our partner, Seattle Gay News. And there will be more to that story that is there. There is more to Crystal's platform, but again, in the interest of, felt like these were the things that I think our audience is top of mind with our audience, and also top of mind in our news cycle. And so these are the components that we showed in this particular interview. There's a lot more. As I said, it was about an hour-long interview, and there's just no way, we haven't done this with anyone, there's no way that we can do that. There was another candidate, I can't remember who it is. I know there was another candidate, we were doing our mayoral interviews. They went over and we had to compress. There's some mayoral candidates we broke up over 2 days. We wanted to give everybody as much as equal time as possible. I know there was at least one candidate we had to compress down. But again, Seattle Gay News, 6th. You can go ahead and watch the story, right? You can go ahead and read the story there. If you're in the 9th District, you haven't voted, the more you know. And I'll say it again, voting in your local elections is really important. One of the things I read while that interview was running is there's pretty low ballot turnout that's going on in general, which is kind of indicating people are going, meh. There's not an opportunity here to go, meh. Right now in Seattle for the mayoral race, we said up front we weren't going to endorse anyone, and my view on that is I don't live in Seattle. It's not my business to endorse anyone. But it does look like, if you look at the polls, the first two candidates are, I think, what people would call establishment candidates. I think both of those candidates would bristle on that term. Not the only people that are calling them established candidates. Bruce Harrell has 20% in the poll data that's out there. Lorena Gonzalez is in second place with 12%. And then Colleen Echohawk in third place with 10%. And then kind of the long tail is Jessen Farrell and Andrew Grant Houston with 6% each. But 32% undecided. 32%. I think Bruce Harrell's going to advance because 20%. You're going to divide that 32% among other candidates. I think you have a distribution that will go to Lorena Gonzalez. You'll have a distribute, right? That the slices are going to go. I'm surprised Andrew Grant Houston is polling as low as he is. I expected would poll a little better. And Colleen Echohawk also, I'm a little surprised, but third place and close. So vote in your local elections. Now, there is one I will say that I have skin in the game in, and I will share my opinion. Dow Constantine, oh my God, guy's dead to me. Sorry, Dow. I know, doing my opinion. And I guess saying that is like, well, we'll never interview him. But Dow is dead to me. Yeah, Renee brings up a good point also. She is also running to hold her seat on the council there in Burien. It's a very good point. Joyce already voted. I would have normally voted. Yeah, absolutely, Catherine. I mean, look, I told our team, like, I am so over Dow Constantine. I would have voted for a moderate Republican if there was a moderate Republican on the ticket. Moderate. Which, if you think about, is actually pretty far to the right. I'm so done with Dow. And I have done protest votes. And Joe Wen appears to be a very, very viable candidate. But even if there was a less than viable candidate, I would totally protest vote at this point. Yeah, and check out crystalmarks.com if you haven't voted. Yes, I agree. And I think he has legitimate competition in this race right now. I absolutely do. So if you're in the 9th Congressional District, first of all, if you're like, I don't know if I'm in the 9th Congressional District, go look at your ballot. If you're in the 9th Congressional District, you have a number of choices for that seat, and you have some things to think about. Crystal Marks, I think, has an opportunity to move things in a different direction. I'm always more cautious in giving more of my opinions in areas where for candidates that I can't vote for because I don't think, right? I'm not in the 9th Congressional District. That's the bottom line. But I can vote again. I could vote for Joe Wen. I'll go vote for Joe Wen. Okay, I saw some of your greatest love songs. Some of you threw some softballs. We'll go for the question of the day. What do you think was greatest love song? I got You Babe is one that came up. It's kind of an interesting one. Let's see. I just saw the thing. I'm going through some of your comments. I did see Orchid K21. I literally just saw that. It actually won't let me scroll up and see all of your comments now. So some of you may have to put in your favorites again. Daydream Believer. People are interesting. I can't see all of yours. I can't scroll up to see all of your comments. I don't know why. I am turning in my ballot tomorrow because I was out of town all last week. Otherwise, my ballot would have gone in last week. Who had the Rick and Morty quote here? Who dropped the Rick and Morty quote? Aerosmith, Don't Want to Miss a Thing. Shell. That's a remake. They didn't do the song originally. It's actually a country song, believe it or not. It was done by Mark Chestnut a year before Aerosmith did it. Miracles by Jefferson Starship. Ooh, the UB40 Chrissy Hyde version. I totally forgot about that version as soon as you said it. Yes. Body and Soul. Here and Now. Ooh, The Joy. That's a good one. Luther. You dropped the Luther. Man, somebody dropped the Luther. They want to get jiggy when they drop in a Luther. Unchained Melody. Absolutely. Roger, good one. Faithfully. Definitely. Yeah, Mark Chestnut did the original version of that. Too Funky by George Michaels. Here's to Us, Embrace You, Close to You by the Carpenters. Oh, I'm conflating songs. Never mind. Closer to You. Yeah, I'm closer. I get to you. I can't help falling in love, but only the Virgin from Some Kind of Wonderful. Are you talking about the Elvis song? There's a woman that did a remake of that song, and it is glorious. Absolutely glorious. Catherine, Fast Car by Tracy Chapman is the ultimate love song? Really? Really? Al Green, Let's Stay Together. Okay, so which version is better, Malcontents? Al Green or Tina Turner? Right? Because Tina Turner did her version of Let's Stay Together. Ooh, In Your Eyes. That's a good one. People are saying that I have it backwards. Interesting. All right. Let me see if I got it wrong. I got it wrong. Let's see if I got it wrong. You all are correct. Mark Chestnut covered it. You all are correct. Boy, I don't get my music trivia wrong, but you are correct. Aerosmith did it. Mark Chestnut did it the year afterwards. Oh my God, The Bad Touch by the Bloodhound Gang. Fools Rush In. Yeah, great song. I wasn't here in the 80s. I still love Tina Turner and her Ant Eternity thing with that body armor thing, the chainmail things you wear, well, like 40 pounds. Okay, so my answer to there's several songs I could put on this list, but the first one that comes to Norwegian Wood. The first one that comes to mind is Chasing Cars by Snow Patrol. That is a song that immediately comes to mind for me on that list. I think there's just some really, really powerful lyrics there. I Don't Believe in Love by Queensryche. Oh no, Lady's a good one. There's nothing laughing about. Joy, that's a good one. That is a really, really good one. You know another one? Here's another one I'll put on there. Joe Cocker's You Are So Beautiful. Right? Where Joe Cocker is like practically crying at the end. Let's get it on. Joe Cocker was amazing. So, Johnny Cash recorded Hurt 6 weeks after June died. The other thing is that Johnny Cash had a very long documented history struggling with drugs and alcohol. And so when Johnny Cash wrote Hurt, it was 6 weeks after the love of his life, truly the love of his life, had died. And Johnny Cash, Love Hurts. Oh my God. And I've done that song at karaoke. Damn it. Who did Love Hurts? Love hurts. Da, 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 da. Nazareth. Nazareth did it. And I'm not sure if Nazareth a one-hit wonder? Is that their song? Is it like Love Hurts and Thank You for Playing? Ooh, all I need is the air that I breathe and to love you. That's a good one. All I need is the air that you breathe. That was like during a period where everybody was doing songs that sounded like the Beatles. Ooh, Evergreen. Haven't heard that song in forever. 9 Inch Nails did it first. I know Trent Reznor wrote it. Trent Reznor did this one. I'll die on this hill. Trent Reznor did Hurt first. Johnny Cash did the cover, and Trent Reznor was like, it's his song. Like, well, not my song anymore. Endless Love comes from a really dark movie. I don't think it's Love. It's not Love Hurts. It's not Love Hurts. Love Stakes. It's Love Stakes. Love Stakes. Love Stinks. Yeah. Love Stinks. Love Stinks. Okay, To Make You Feel My Love started as a... To Make You Feel My Love was a Billy Joel song. Garth Brooks did a cover of that. To Make You Feel My Love, I believe, is off of Storefront. The song was written by Bob Dylan originally. Billy Joel released it To Make You Feel My Love in his compilation as an add-on song, his Greatest Hits Volume 3 in 1997. Joel's single actually came out before Bob Dylan's by a month, even though Bob Dylan originally wrote and did the song. And there is a ton of people that have covered the song. Claire Dunn, Adele, Garth Brooks, Shane Fillion, Brian Ferry. I didn't know Brian Ferry was still doing music. Kelly Clarkson, Ann Brune, and Nick Knowles. It has been covered by over 450 performers. All of Me by John Legend is my wife and I's wedding song. That is our song. It just, that is Dr. and Mrs. Malcontent in my song. That would be another one of my just amazing love songs. So I heard an interview, pour some sugar on me. I heard an interview. I was a huge Live fan, a rabid Live fan. I got to see them in a small venue concert. I got to go backstage, got to meet the band, got pictures with them. It's one of only 2 backstage experiences that I've had with major musical artists. I'm a huge live fan. I think Throwing Copper is one of the greatest albums from the 1990s. And so here's the thing. Lightning Crashes. The song Lightning Crashes is a series of little stories. So each line in the song is just its individual story. The song is literally just about a hospital or hospitals in general, and the paradox of the hospital, of where there is life, there is death, there is joy, there is sadness. And that's what, anyway, that's what that song is about. So many people, right, try to connect all of the words together. And if you try to, because I've struggled with it, right? Like, what the hell? It doesn't, is it about, is it? And actually just each little line is its own little story about something going on in the hospital. And the whole idea is that this is all going on at the same time. So anyway, that's what Lightning Crash is about. Candy. Iggy Pop and he did the duet with is it Kate Pearson from the B-52s? Was it Iggy Pop and Kate Pearson that did the duet with that for Candy? I didn't know Send in the Clowns was a love song. Bed by Michael Jackson. Also kind of a dark song. Keep them coming. Keep it coming. I'm reading Mbop by Hanson. Now you're just like, I like Mbop. There you go. If there's something you want to use against me, there you go. That's right. Ben was a rat. That's why I was like, that's a dark song. Ben was a rat. Yes, and Ben was a homicidal rat. Let the bodies hit the floor. 1, nothing's wrong with me. 2, nothing's wrong with me. 3, nothing's wrong with me. 4, nothing's wrong with me. Ah! Let the bodies hit the floor. I love me some Mazzy Star. I love me some Mazzy Star. Oh, you know another one? All right, here's another one. I'm going to drop a third one on you. Chopin's Ballad by Melanie Doan. Holy shit. Like, I just got the chills literally saying it. Chopin's Ballad, Melanie Doan. I literally got the chills. I literally got the chills when I said it. It is an amazing, amazing song. And there's a link. Here's a quarter. I was at a singing contest where somebody did Here's a Quarter. You know, this would probably be the next question we have on one of these sessions, which is name a song that has lost some of its meaning. Here's a Quarter, Call Somebody Who Cares is a song that has totally lost its meaning because good luck finding a payphone. The whole Massive Attack songs. Y'all are all over the place now. What the heck? We've already talked about Annie Lennox. We already talked about when I was, first time I saw Annie Lennox on MTV, and I was like, oh, are you going to do bad things to me with that riding crop? Millennial question. What kind of bandwidth did payphones have? I would presume the best you're going to be able to push is 56K through a payphone. That would be my guess. Is 56K. Oh my God, Shelley, same thing. Same thing. I saw people flipping quarters on stage when people would do that song. Absolutely hysterical. I would do the dance. The time when that song was really popular, my go-to karaoke song was the dance. Okay, I'll have to check that one out. Crazy apples with the bunnies at the floor of Delfino Plaza. I'll have to check it out. All right, malcontents. I think we've got to beat this topic into the ground. I like doing the questions of the day. It gets all very interactive. And we'll do questions of the day again. I will see you on Thursday. If you want to go back and see those pictures that we were showing earlier, the photo library is here. If you want to read our story about the water shortages from coast to coast, not from coast to coast, but the water shortages all along the West Coast, from Washington to Arizona and California, there is our story about that. There is also a photo gallery there from Lake Oroville and Lake Shasta. So there you've got, so check out Chopin's Ballad by Melanie Doan. It is friggin' amazeballs song. It's just that an amazing love song. Like when it came into my mind, I literally got chills. Just Bring It Again. I got chills. It's from that same, God, I can't remember the name of the show again. Flashpoint. Melanie Doan's Chopin Ballad. Flashpoint. Oh my God. Flashpoint. So many friggin' songs that I got exposed to from Flashpoint. Yeah, Dora, careful. We might have to close the border, and then you'll be stuck in Idaho. Oh my goodness. There had another song and it just escaped in my head. I was going to close with one more song, but I'm not. I'm going to go away now. All right, Malcontents. Malcontent out Thursday. Malcontent News is a team of journalists, activists, and researchers with 3 key missions. A commitment to show an unfiltered view of the before, during, and after of key events live as it happens. To defend the First Amendment using our rights of a free press. And to amplify the voices of underrepresented individuals, including Black, Indigenous, persons of color, and the LGBTQIA+ community. Our team is committed to seeking equality for all and holding those in power accountable. The easiest way to support Malcontent News is to bookmark our website at malcontentnews.com, like and follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, and in the Google News app. To provide financial support, you can become a patron, make a one-time donation through Venmo, or link your Twitch account to your Amazon Prime account and use your free subscription to subscribe to Malcontent News. Thank you for supporting independent journalism and for being a malcontent.
You fit the profile. You're the malcontent.
Nobody wants to hear the nonsensical ravings of a loudmouth malcontent.
He said malcontent Antifa, fuck you!
You are the biggest hypocrite on the face of the planet.
I say that you're a terrible